Good morning. Ooh, a little shaky this morning. It is Monday. It is a very stormy Monday and yet another snow day, so we shall see what the day brings, or the rest of the week for that matter. Okay, so Friday, I left off making some charms, I guess you would call them, or jewelry pieces that I wanted to finish up today. I wanted to show you some different ideas of what you could use. So I had made them with the I can never remember the name of it. Glossy accents. The thing with this is you have to be very precise. Make sure you have good lighting. Make sure you are very precise in how you apply it to your piece, because once you go back and pour over top of the old glossy accents, you can see the difference. So I wanted to show you, like, nothing's perfect in the studio. It's just practice, keep trying different things and see what works for you. So for me, doing the second pouring obviously did not work, hence this video tutorial. But I tried a few different glues to see what would happen if you didn't have glossy accents. So it's not horrible, it's not great, but it's not horrible. And if you don't like it, you can always paint over it with nail polish or acrylics or whatever you feel like. I don't think that matters too much. Or you could even put glitter on it if you wanted to. Once it's dry, just put another coat of glue on it, put glitter on it, and fixative. You should be good to go. I haven't tried it, so don't quote me on that one. I did try a bunch of different little glues. I had some from the dollar store, Dollar Tree to be exact. It's the clear gel transparent glue. It just comes in a little bottle. If you store your glues upside down, especially before you go to pour for jewelry, you get rid of all the bubbles. Although that doesn't always work either. Sometimes the bubbles still show up no matter how hard you try. Okay, I'm going to scoot you down. I'm going to show you. So the camera's going to be a little bit shaky. There we go. Sorry for the weird noises. Um, there we go. There. Okay. You see that? Not too badly. All right. So here, these are the ones that I did before. And I've already taken them, cut the paper around it. But as you can see, I don't know if the camera will pick it up. But you can see where I did the second pouring because it didn't all the way go to the edge. You want to make sure that whatever medium you put in here, it goes all the way to all the edges. This is a thicker wire that I used, so it's a little bit easier, but I didn't have enough lighting, obviously, and I wasn't paying attention, obviously. So that was what happened with the second pouring. And then this is the other set that I did. It's not horrible. You probably wouldn't notice it unless you took a really close look at it, but I notice it, and that kind of bothers me. And then this one I did pen style. So this is the paper that I had already created the background for on my watercolor paper. Now it is a little bit wonky on the back. For all intents and purposes, it's a little bit warped. I don't think it bothers me all that much, but if it bothers you, be careful. So here I used a thinner wire. I didn't have any more of the thick wire left. But I want to show you that you can use your stamps for making your own pendants, and the paper and the glossy accents. Now this is an awful lot of glossy accents because it's quite a large pendant. So if you're going to do large pendants, you want to have something a bit more cost effective, unless you're going to do resin and things like that. And you're going to do a whole bunch at the same time so that your resin will pour nicely, and then you have, you don't waste any because you can't keep it for whatever reason. It'll just harden and do its own thing. I don't know how resin will work with a thinner wire. So the back I just decoupaged so that to protect the paper itself. I did the same for all of these. So you can see the brush strokes probably. But anyway, I did them for all of them. And then I experimented with the different glues. So here I just taped down with some washi tape my paper so that my paper didn't warp too much and my wire wouldn't slide off. So this one I used the clear gel glue. It's not bad, but again, because I used the thinner wire, it did warp a little bit and it did bleed under a bit. Now, I don't know if it's salvageable with just cutting it out, but as you can see, it just bled underneath because my wire had shoved it. Again, this is the thinner wire. And this is the other glue I used. This is a horrible glue. I don't recommend it. And you can see that it's just, I mean, if you want to just put glitter on that, by all means, use the cheapest glue that you can possibly find. As long as it'll hold, that's all that matters. So all I do is cut my I don't know if you can cut through the glue all that easily. Well, it's trying. Okay, that's not bad. So you don't want to use your best scissors. These are my best scissors, unfortunately. It's probably not the best ones to use. But you see, the wire just let go. So again, experimenting with different things and seeing what works, right? It just goes to show that came right off because it's so thin, and this glue is probably not the best for it. But it's kind of interesting because I still have this shape. I still have the paper that's protected. So I could use it in scrapbooking application. I don't know. It's probably not the best. So that one's a bust. Now this one, well, we'll see if this one will hold. This is a really cheapy kind of glue. Experimenting with different glues is probably your best option. Whatever you have on hand, you don't have to go out and buy a whole bunch. Just see what you have, see what works and what doesn't work. So this one is not bad. I mean, it's holding, so you could potentially use this just for glitter purposes kind of thing. But all I do is, if I can find it, take my nail file. You could use I don't know, a metal one, I suppose, if you really wanted to. But you don't want to see the paper on the other side, so you just sand it off around the edges. And then you seal the back of it with decoupage or more of the glue if you wanted to, whatever works for you. But again, you can see that it is lifting. See that? So that would not be a potential, yeah, see. Now it'd be different if you were just using it for a charm, but if you're going to use it for jewelry, this is not your best bet. Alright, so those two are a bust. Again, cheap glue. Now this one I used tacky glue because it dries clear, it's supposed to. It didn't do it 100%. As you can see, you can still see the butterfly, but I wanted to see if this would work, if you could potentially just use your favorite glue that you use. I don't know. Sometimes it's a hit and miss, which is why we experiment, because you don't know. And sometimes I don't feel like being creative in the studio, so I experiment with different things and see what works. And that's okay too. Can't always rearrange everything all the time in your studio and clean things, so when I don't feel like cleaning and doing all that other stuff, this is what I do. I experiment. Now this is quite flexible because it is a glue. It's not like a glossy medium, right? So it's not quite the same. But you just want to make sure that all your edges are nice and smooth. Now I can see, because this is thin wire, I still can see right in here. I don't know if you can see it. But yeah, see that? So that's a bust. But you could potentially decoupage the back of this and, I don't know, use it for something. Again, experimentation, right? So now I know those glues are not going to work. So investing in glossy accents or a epoxy is probably your best bet. I've just proven it to you. So now we're going to make some earrings out of these. So So all I've basically done, so these are pretty good. They're fairly decent. I'm going to, let's see. No, we're in copper. Okay. This is just the cheap copper wire that I got at the dollar store. You don't have to buy expensive stuff, especially if it's not something you do very often. But I will run it through my cloth a few times. Okay. And it's easier if you cut a little bit off. But in this case, I want to work from the spool. So I want to make some kind of joint. Okay, maybe I won't use this one. I think I'm going to do the easy one today because it's Monday. It is what it is. Okay, so you're going to use your ruler. You can use your mat too. I'm going to cut 2 inches and 2 inches. As long as they're both the same length, you can just measure from the other one. And that is actually half decent. You're going to find the middle. Okay, find the middle, and then go like that. So it looks like a ribbon, basically. You can do the same with the other one. Find the middle, or roughly, and do the same thing. All we're going to do is we're gonna yeah. We're going to make our little loops. And we can adjust all this if you find that it's really out of whack. That's okay. Because what we can do is we can just sort of squeeze it a bit. Now, this is still salvageable because what you can do is you can cut some of this off with your wire snips. Be careful. And then you can just go again. And now it is even. See what I did? I just took a little bit off and just readjusted it. Earrings, because you're making them each individually, sometimes they will look a little bit off, but that's okay. Just earrings. Again, this one is a little bit off, which is fine. We can adjust that. Just flatten them out a bit. So now we have our 2 little connectors. Just like that. So when you put them with your earrings, it'll look quite pretty. Now I might just flatten those a little bit because the wires themselves have been flattened. And then what we are going to do, let's see. I usually have my other components out, but I recently started putting things away, so. Alright, we'll do it this way. So all we're going to do is we are going to, this will also harden the wire nicely. You don't want to hammer where it crosses over. And you don't want to go too flat. You just enough to make it harder. And give it that little bit of interest. That's all you want to do. I don't know where I put those. Well, that's just annoying. Alright. You could use silver if you want to. You can use copper. I don't have any copper ear wires. You can use like the darker brass or whatever. But normally I make my own ear wires. I don't even have little connectors. Damn it. Just when you think you're prepared, you are not. So this is how I make my coils for all my jump rings. So you coil it onto one mandrel, you make a giant spring basically, and then you cut them all off individually. And I will do that when, you know, I have nothing else to do. So, you know, when you're preparing different things, it's kind of, if you're bored or whatever, you try to do different things. All you're doing is cutting them off individually, and then you can adjust them. So I need 4 of them. And you just get your little pliers out. And you get your little connectors. I just find this so finicky. Fun, but finicky. It's very satisfying to see a pair of earrings come together. Oops, how did I miss that? Oh, because you were not even closed. So it is helpful if you close up all your loops. Otherwise you'll do it like I just did. It's Monday morning, guys. What can I say? I hope you can see it this way. If not, and you want an overhead view of this, let me know. I can show you in more detail how I do it. But this is just the basics. I mean, there's really not a whole lot to it. Anybody who makes jewelry on a regular basis, you already know a lot of this. And if you don't, there's a lot of tutorials out there. Again, when I first started doing YouTube, I didn't want to do tutorials at all. It's not something I was interested in doing. But, you know, it's, as you try different things, you know, I try to keep in mind is if somebody who's never made anything or wants to learn how to do something, you know, it's kind of nice to have a tutorial on it. I still like to watch different tutorials. Half the fun is learning different things. Keeps your mind sharp. Not on a Monday morning necessarily, but, you know, for the most part. But you get the idea. And for the longest time, I couldn't figure out how to put the components together to make it lie down nicely when you put it in your ear. So that was a bit of a learning curve for me. But now it's much easier. So there you have a set of earrings. That's it. You know, you can make it very easily yourself. And you can use your scrapbook paper for that. Or you can put glitter in there, or you can paint it. I don't know. Use your imagination, right? Like I always say, you never know until you experiment and try different things. You don't know. So I'm going to finish up these ones. This one you could put on some linen cord. You can put it on some leather if you wanted to, on a chain. You could use it as a charm even if you really didn't want to put it on a necklace. That's okay too. It'll look quite cute as a charm on a notebook like this. You know, just a couple of jump rings on there and then attach it. Obviously, this is not the best color for this notebook, but you know, you get my drift. when I made those bigger ones, I made the smaller ones, and sometimes you don't have enough color. Like if you have just a plain white one and then something like that, that'd be pretty cool actually. That'd be quite nice. Or you can put it on the end so when you have it on your shelf and you can see it, that looks good too. So, you know, different things, different strokes for different folks. And if you find it doesn't work this way, you can always make a jig. You can buy jigs from Wig Jig. They're pretty good. This one I got in some kind of package with some Fiskars, other things. I don't know. It was a whole bunch of, it was the letter writer and the jig and stuff like that. You can make your own with just wood and nails and things that you have around the house. So it's just a question of experimentation, right? So yeah, like I said, a pair of earrings, simple, easy. And if you wanted to make your own ear wires, you totally could. If you want to hang some chain off of that, some beads, you totally could do that too. But copper ages really nicely and it gets more patina as the days go on, you know, as you touch it and it oxidizes and things like that. So that's what I do like about it. And sometimes you will get a little bit of the oxidation into the paper, which really looks nice. I really like that too. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Like I said, experiment, see what works. This one for me so far is still the best. Again, if you're gonna be using a lot of it, you might want to get that on sale because I don't think it's all that cheap. So anyway, have fun, keep crafting, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye!